Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Consciousness. My name's Tiffani Brennan, and I'm joined this evening by Pam Grace. Hi, Pam.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Thank you guys for joining us here. So this evening, Pam and I were sort of having a chat, and we thought, what of the many amazing, wonderful things could we possibly have a chat about this evening? And Pam is a conscious parents, conscious kids facilitator, which is a specialty of Access Consciousness. And she has kids, and her kids have kids, and I have a kid. So we were like, hey, let's maybe have a chat about kids.
And we had a great chat, didn't we, Tiffani? And afterwards I thought we should have just recorded this. and how can we have this be even greater?
Exactly. Yeah, I love that question. And, you know, I mean, specifically also what we wanted to kind of talk with you tonight. And, you know, it depends where the conversation goes, as always. And if you are with us live on Facebook, please feel free to put any questions that you have in the chat, because that can also kind of direct where we can go with the conversation too. And we'd love your contribution. But yeah, what I was saying is most specifically, we're also talking about, you know, creating beyond kids and parenting. So
yeah, absolutely. I just a little share here. I've worked in the mental health system with kids and parents for over 30 years, and it's a very structured and specific psychological way of working with kids and parents. So when I came across the Access Consciousness tools, that to be introduced to something that created beyond what most of us know about parenting was just so refreshing and so much easier and so much fun that I couldn't resist becoming a facilitator, because I just thought, this is so easy. Like, what have I been doing all of these years when I could have been doing this with parents and kids? And that way of empowering them, which is not always something we get introduced to in the mainstream world of parenting. Yeah, so now it's so much fun and so much easier.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about that, Pam. I'd love to hear about sort of, you know, what the difference is. And it's funny because I hear you know, you're saying this idea of creating beyond, well, I'm hearing you say is this idea of creating beyond what maybe we think parenting is, or largely what the idea of parenting is. And for me, it's also, you know, creating your life beyond just being a parent, because I see so many parents, especially mothers, but both, you know, mothers and fathers, who just get so consumed by their children and their children's lives that they forget who they are and that they actually have a life as well. So yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, I'd love to hear, you know, what's changed for you in the work that you do with kids.
Okay, well, I now mostly work with parents and kids using the tools of Access Consciousness, and so it's so much more fun. And the biggest change for me was something I already knew, but it was like a confirmation, if you like, is when we become parents, we somehow buy this idea that we have to get it right, that we have to do the right thing, and if we don't, we'll be very harshly judged by our peers or our parents or those around us. So we spend so much energy trying to fit into the box of doing parenting the right way, and it's so exhausting. And then, of course, your kids pick up on that you're trying to fit them into a box so that they get it right, so that you're not judged harshly if they misbehave in public or whatever it is. So I suppose the biggest thing for me was talking to parents about getting out of that judgment, not
Yes.
judging them. And as you said, Tiffani, not excluding you from your life, and just being that parent who puts all the energy into being a parent and not choosing for you.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the beauty for me of you know, the tools that we have and the tools that we share is that there is no limit to energy, and there is no limit to possibilities. And you know, we have this, you know, you guys have probably heard a lot of people, if you've been following these conversations in consciousness, a lot of people mention this concept or this idea or this tool of asking questions, right? Which kind of opens up things and allows you to receive more information, receive more ease in following a different way, and opening things up for you. And one of the questions that I came across was, what can I add to my life? Right. And at the time I'd, you know, recently had a baby, and someone suggested asking this question. It's a question I was aware of for a long time, but I avoided it because I was like, I can't possibly add any more to my life. My life is so busy and full, and I've got so much going on. I can hardly like keep up with what I've got going on. But if you don't have a definition of what adding something to your life is or means, that question actually created so much for me.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And just on that bit, I think sometimes as parents, we forget that it can be fun. And like asking, how much fun can I have today for me and with my kids? You know, parenting is often seen as a chore. And I think when we get out of other people's definitions of what parenting should look like, then you can be you more, and you can add to your life, and you can have more fun.
Yes, and you know, with that, and I know we didn't actually quite get to fully get to, you know, what's changed in the way you work with people, which I still want to get
I will
to.
come back to yes.
Yeah. But it's just something that you said, and I wanted to kind of, you know, that thing of adding, and it's like, for me, the idea was adding more projects or adding more things to do. That was my idea of it when I first heard that. And then I was like, oh, adding more could be adding somebody who comes along and wants to spend time with Silas on a regular basis, or it could be adding, you know, more money to my world, to my life, to my business, you know. So it's like that question of what else can I add to my life to create more ease here is like amazing. Yeah. So tell me more. I'll shut up.
Okay. No, please don't. I love hearing what you've got to say too. The other big thing for me was the empowerment piece. Like, when I worked in mental health, it was kind of, listen to me, I am the expert, and I can tell you how to avoid being judged as a parent for your naughty child.
By doing the right thing. By making sure you're doing the right thing.
Yeah. And to make sure your child behaves in a certain way.
Wow.
And now I get that saying, actually, do you know what? You know your child better than anybody. Trust you. Trust what you know. And trust what your kid knows too. Like, so often, you know, we kind of even left the child out of the equation a bit. As long as the parents were doing the right behavioral management, then it would be all good. But the minute you include your child in the equation of what's going to work, what's going to be the most fun, what can I add to my life, and you allow them to choose and trust that they know, and include questions, ask them questions. Oh my goodness, asking your kids questions. Like, suddenly parenting becomes so much easier because you suddenly don't have to tick off a list of to-dos in order to be doing things the right way to avoid being judged. It's almost like this cycle of how can I avoid being judged? How can I do the right thing? How can I get my children to behave so they don't embarrass me in public?
God.
And it's so much more fun. And now I know with my own grandchildren, I am so kind of, judge me in public. So I'll do whatever it takes, really. And that might be having a tantrum in the middle of the shopping centre that's bigger than the tantrum that they're having. And yeah, it's just so much more fun when you don't have to fit into this society's way of being a parent or grandparent in my case.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I was actually doing some, I just ran to the shops before this and did all this stuff. And there was this couple in the shopping center and they were like fighting, like really at each other. And the kid you could tell the kid was aware of the energy between them. And I could sense the kid trying to kind of fix it and then not knowing what to do and just kind of crying. And I was like, I just was like, wow, life without the access tools, without having these tools to be able to, because, you said before that, something about parenting being hard and it can be hard. Like it can be a really difficult thing. And if you don't, these tools that we're so lucky to have in our lives just can create so much more ease, like you say, for you as a parent and for your kids as well.
Yeah. What's your favorite tool, Tiffani? What's your favorite tool to use in parenting?
Oh God, in parenting. The most enjoyable tool I think I use currently in parenting is manipulation. It's like,
yes.
Silas is 4, so he's still, at a stage where, for example, if we want to get him to do something, all we need to do is tell him he's not allowed to do it, and then he has to do it. He has to.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing.
It's so cool.
It's so cool. And it's fun. We do it in a fun way. This idea of manipulation. People are like, oh, manipulation's bad. And what if manipulation is more about having like some Play-Doh, let's say, because we're talking about parenting, and actually molding and creating and doing something different with it to create a different shape or a different result or a different, picture.
Yeah, absolutely. And often the manipulation piece, you get to avoid the fight. Like if you get really skillful at because kids are the best manipulators in the world.
Yes.
And if you get really skilled at out manipulating kids, you avoid the fight so often, and you can have fun with it. Like you say, you can have so much fun with it.
What about you, Pam? And I noticed we've got a couple of questions in the chat as well.
So I'd love to hear. Do you want to go to the questions?
Well, let's hear your favorite tool, and then
my favorite tool. Okay, if I'm honest, my tools change by the day, but I suppose the one that has had the greatest impact for me is the one about getting out of judgment of yourself. And for me, it's been like working a muscle, an art form. Every time I catch myself going into judgment, and my kids are grown up now, and I can still go into judgment about how people perceive my kids are now as grown-ups, but I catch myself now and I go, okay, so that's not working for me. It's not creating anything. And if I can get out of resistance and reaction or alignment and agreement of how people are judging me and just receive that judgment without a point of view, oh my goodness, it just creates so much space and so much ease. And it's an ongoing thing, but I catch it more and more now. Yeah,
that's amazing. And that whole, for any of you guys out there watching who maybe don't know what access consciousness is or haven't played with, these tools that we talk about so much, is, judgment is basically anywhere that you're doing right wrong or good or bad, you know. So anywhere that you're either trying not to be wrong or bad so that you're good, or, you know, making yourself wrong because you've decided that you should be, you know, doing it in a better way or anything like that. And parenting seems to be one of those ones that is just rife with judgment, you know. So it's such a gift. And so so we've got a couple of questions here. I love it. How can you manipulate your kids? I guess we already addressed that one, and we could probably talk about it a whole lot more.
Oh, for sure.
But what's your definition of you as a parent? I thought was an interesting question.
That is
How would you answer that one, Pam?
Oh, look, look, I was 19 when I had my first child, so it's changed, because then it was, I am responsible for this little being, and it's so very serious, and I need to, you know, I need to get it right, and I need to do the right thing. And now it's more of, well, they choose us. So for me, being a parent now is like empowering your children to choose. So it's like a co-creation of inviting your kids to choose, whilst at the same time educating them about how this reality works and how to use it to their advantage. And again, there's probably another 30-minute conversation just in that. You know, and I'd say everyone's idea of the definition of being a parent will be different. But that for me is empowering the kids that have chosen you, and then educate them on what's going on around them and how they can have more ease with all of that. Because it's not easy. It's not easy nowadays for kids to grow up. And I've got 4 grandchildren of varying ages, and I just feel so blessed that I'm in this position, that I have these tools and I can share them with them, and that will empower them to have the ability to choose something different if they would like. You know?
Yeah, I love that. It's awesome. Very, very cool.
What's yours, Tiff?
It's funny because, I mean, you know, I remember when, you know, Silas was a baby and I had a pram, and I've always felt so weird with a pram. I was like, who is this person? And I don't like when I even consider myself as a mother, I'm like, I'm not a mother, you know? So I think I've always had a very, very different way of looking at parenting, even before I even considered becoming one. But I think it would be, for me, more of a not definition. You know, it's like, I don't really have a definition of me as a parent. And I also don't have a definition of my son as a child. So I know that, yes, of course, he is a child, but also he's way more than a child. And one of the things that I always saw, even from a young age, was people talking to children and dealing with children in a certain way that really confused me. I was like, why are they speaking to them in a way like they don't know anything, you know? And I think that's kind of this reality's version of teaching children comes from the conclusion, I think we lost Pam, comes from that conclusion of, well, you're brand new and you don't know anything, and so we have to teach you. And it's like, I don't have that point of view. You know, it's like, to me, you know, kids are beings, and they've had other experiences and other lifetimes. And this is not about whether you believe in past lifetimes or anything like that. But for me, that's always been my reality, that I've seen kids as being way more than what most people see them as. And so for me, it's about acknowledging that, inviting more of that, and you know, navigating the space of how do I invite and lead while also being willing to follow and ask and invite my kid to lead me in places where he can lead me too. And I think I see Pam's back, but I think she's frozen, or am I frozen? Oh, we've got two Pams.
Obviously our conversation is so heated. I keep overheating and then I disappear.
I love it.
Sorry. Oh dear.
Hot parenting.
So I missed what you said. I'm saying it again. I'm about to go again. I'll try and get back on some other way.
No worries. All good. All good. I'll keep chatting.
Keep going. Keep going.
So you're still there. Yes. So Lauren saying, when I was pregnant, I declared the children will call me by my name, not mum, but that didn't really happen. I love it. Yeah, I always had dreams of those things as well. I saw, young people when I was young calling their parents by their name, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. But yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing is like parenting it's such a creative space too. Like if you're not trying to do that thing of doing parenting right or trying to look to other people to how you're supposed to do it, it's like, what if you have the opportunity to be with this person who happens to be your kid, and like Pam was saying before, it's like, what if your kids actually choose you? This being, this person has chosen you, and you can have this adventure with them, and this closeness, and all of that sort of stuff, and a changing relationship, because any of you guys out there who do have kids, that it changes all the time, especially when they're babies. For example, I was talking to a friend of mine recently who's got a 1-year-old, and she's just navigating being a new parent in the world, and she was like, he just started crawling, and I said, how's that going? And she's like, well, yeah, it's really good. I mean, it's challenging in this way, but it's better than this thing was in the other way. So it's like everything kind of presents new challenges, but oftentimes whatever was happening 10 minutes ago or last week is now easier too. So it's very fun if you can have it as that. And look, the other thing I think for me with parenting is like giving myself space, and that can often be just, because oftentimes there's so much going on, and there's like noise, and there's this and that. And one of the things for me is the willingness to actually be a bit more space, just stop and actually take a breath and let go, and having a baby taught me that as well, because I really like a clean house, and it's like when you have a baby or a little kid, you just have to let go of that, or that question of what else can I add to my life? You find a way that you have someone come and help you clean the house, or you find different ways of doing things. But yeah, it's really like been a huge teacher for me in the willingness to let go and change, from moment to moment, and not expect anything to be the same or stay the same.
Yeah. I'm here again.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome again.
What have I missed?
All the good stuff. All the hot parenting stuff.
How to get any better? This is so much fun. Have we got any more questions?
Not that I can see, I don't think. Just lots of people saying hi. Haresh, Karen, Simone, John. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us. And yeah, I think no more questions.
Okay.
John saying, Pam, can you talk about using the access tools with your grown children?
Grown children. Oh my goodness. Here's a week's worth. There's a whole week's worth there, Tom. Yes, I can. Look, it never ends, guys, okay?
I love it. You've got to take a few breaths.
It doesn't end. And how do we get so lucky to have these tools? It really is so much easier, because the tool of interesting point of view is my friend and my constant companion. Okay. My kids are 39 and 42, and they have my beautiful grandkids, and I'm very involved with my family. And when my kids were growing up, I had a particular way of being with them, which is maybe different than the way I am with their children. So sometimes they say to me, hold on a second, you never did that with us, or you didn't let us do that. So it can bring up a lot of judgment for them about the way they are as parents, or the way I am as a grandparent. So I really have to be that space of interesting point of view when I'm talking to them about, like, they have to choose the way they are as parents, and that's their choice. And me being interesting point of view, and really truly not having a point of view about how they choose to be with their kids, is a contribution to them and to us and our relationship. And that way I get out of the need to fight with them about any of it. And for those of you who don't know about access consciousness, interesting point of view is that getting out of judgment and not going into reaction and not resisting anything and not trying to be right. And really, I use questions all the time too with them, without being too accessy, because they don't do access. And I really don't have any firm point of view unless they ask me. I suppose that would be my number one thing. I let them ask me questions, and only then will I give them a point of view if I have one. And yeah, and sometimes I use the tool of, taking 5 minutes time out if anything's becoming heated, or it's not really contributive in any way, then I may take 5-minute break and have an adult tantrum even. And again, it's not about getting it right. I don't even though I've done all this stuff with parenting and most of my life, I never profess to them that I've got it right or I have it the right way. I really would like to kind of show up as, what contribution can I be here to them, and what contribution can I be here to my grandkids? And I'm willing to get it wrong, and I'm willing to say, hey guys, I got it wrong. You're right. I'm wrong. I'm willing to say that, and that can create so much, even with your adult kids. I hope that's been a contribution, John.
I'm sure it was. It was a contribution to me too, and it's interesting when, listening to you talk. It's like these tools, like we're talking about parenting, but it's also about having parents. It's about any relationships really. That place where you can allow someone to have and see the world in whatever way they see it, and be totally okay with that. And I think, when we have families, and especially when we're parents and we have kids, we have all these ideas, even often if we try not to, all these ideas of what we might like our children to be or have or get, or the way that we'd like them to see the world. And it's like, you're not in control of that. It's like these kids, they're beings, they're their own beings, and they've come here to have their own life and their own adventure. And it's like, how can we as parents empower them with that, knowledge that, you know what, and even with little kids, I see there's someone asking, like, what do you find are the best tools to give young school aged kids? Christine's asking. And, you know, I think one of the things is, like, it's your life. Even as a little kid, you know, with Silas, he'll ask me something, or he'll ask me for something that I think that he shouldn't have, might be a type of food or something. And for me, I'm like, well, I always say to him, it's your life, it's your body. What would you like to choose?
Yeah.
You know? And if he starts to choose something, for example, where he keeps eating something and then he'll say, oh, my tummy feels funny, then I'll say, well, you know, maybe you could have asked your body before you drank it if it would like it, and then you wouldn't have to deal with that. So, and remember, you know, this happened last time. Are you sure you want to choose that? And if he says yes, I'll still let him choose it, because then he gets to have his own experience, and then he gets to make a different choice if he chooses to next time, if that didn't work. But I think that allowance and that question and inviting them to know that their choices create their life. You know, every choice you make creates your future, you know, and it's your future to have.
Yeah. And kind of adding to that, if I could give you my favorite question with my grandkids, I always ask in my head, do they require anything of me? Do they actually require anything of me? Because as parents, we're taught to jump in and fix it. And then if I get a yes, then I ask the question, so what contribution can I do? What question can I ask them? Because I always ask them a question. I don't, look, I'm not perfect. And sometimes I do tell them what to do.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you know, and I do. And sometimes the choices that they're about to make may not be creating the greatest outcome. So sometimes I do jump in. But I do ask questions. I ask them questions. You know, what's this going to create? If you choose this, what will it create? That's one of my best questions. In fact, my 10-year-old granddaughter says it before I do now. Okay, Nanny, I know. If I choose this, what will it create? And she says
I love it.
But I know it's there. It's there.
Yeah. And I find with that stuff too, it's like sometimes, you know, just changing the question up a little bit too, just to keep it different for them, so they don't get to that place where they're like, oh, this is the same thing that you say all the time, kind of thing. But
I hear her say to her brother.
Yeah, I love that.
Him, her little brother. Thomas, if you choose this, what's it going to create?
Cute. It's so gorgeous. It's so wonderful. And, you know, I love as well, Pam, that you were saying sometimes I do tell them what to do. And I think, you know, this is not about, you know, let your children run wild and do whatever they want, you know, even if it's not working for you. You know, it's like this thing of also creating beyond kids and parenting is recognizing that it's got to work for you too. And if something's not working for you, how can it work for you? And sometimes that is going, no, that just doesn't work, not happening. But sometimes it's also like, what else is possible? Like, if yes and no weren't the only options here, what else could be possible?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. I remember talking to a friend of mine, you know, not long after I'd had Silas, and she was talking to me about how she didn't want her kid to grow up thinking that he could have everything, you know, because that's kind of not the way it is. And I was like, that's weird, because I don't have that point of view. My point of view is more, I want to teach my kid that he can have and create anything, but I am not necessarily always going to be the source of that.
Correct. Yes. I like that. Yeah.
And I think as a result of just me being that way, you know, Silas, for example, I've watched him do it so many times. He'll ask me for something and I say no, because I'm choosing to say no, it doesn't work. And, you know, let's say, for example, it's a chocolate. And then half an hour later, someone will show up at our house with that exact same thing that he wanted that I wouldn't let him have. So I'm like, okay, Good creation.
Amazing
I'm not going to
creator.
stop you from having that. That's brilliant. Go for it, you know.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love
That's
that.
great.
And kids are amazing creators.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think acknowledging them for that too, like, you know, in that scenario as well, I would actually go, wow, good on you. That's amazing. You wanted this thing. I wouldn't give it to you. Somehow you've, you know, just your desire for something has created this possibility showing up in your world. Have it. That's brilliant. What a great creation. Well done. Yeah. So
what
that
is that question then?
so we've got a couple more. We're sort of coming up to the end. We're a little bit over time, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So someone was asking about sleeplessness with a young kid, and then there's another one here saying, hey, I have a son of 15 months. He doesn't leave me. He's with me all the times. Wherever I go, whatever I do, he stays with others for a few minutes and then back to me. Can you help? What should I do? Great question.
Okay. Do you want me to go, or do you want to go, Tiff?
You go for it.
Okay. Well, which one are we doing? The sleeplessness one or the
whatever you like? We'll cover both.
Okay. So is the child not sleeping, or is the adult not sleeping? Or both?
Any idea how to make it easier with smaller kids? Lack of sleep makes days very hard for me. I would say probably just a, you know, kid that's waking up through the night, maybe. If you're still there. Boba Kick. Sorry, I'm really butchering your name. Look, then let us know.
I would be starting with some questions there, like, you know, what's right about this I'm not getting is a great question, because it, you know, we can come to conclusion immediately that lack of sleep or not sleeping, your child not sleeping, is wrong. And sometimes some kids just don't sleep a lot. And it's about, how can I get this to work for me? And, you know, I've had parents who have put the TV on for their child for an hour so they can get an hour's sleep, but have been unwilling to do it for fear of judgment. And then have found out that, well, in actual fact, they're in the cot, they're looking at something, and then they fall asleep anyway. You know, don't discount anything. Ask some questions like, what am I aware of? What is my child aware of? I'm just wondering if this person does access or not, because I would be talking about doing some bars, which is sorry, Tiff, go.
No. I'm just not sure that they're still here, but they might be catching the replay later.
Okay. So yeah,
but I mean bars absolutely. I mean, you know, access bars is a hands-on body process that we offer with Access Consciousness, and it's amazing for people of all ages.
But asking a couple of questions like, okay, so what am I aware of here? What is my child aware of here? Again, this is quite a lengthy conversation.
Yes.
And there are quite a few tools, and we have about 2 minutes. Yeah, maybe we can do this again.
Exactly. And I mean, the other thing is, you guys, you know, feel free to reach out to myself, or, you know, send a message to Access or to Pam, and she works with children, and she's a conscious parents, conscious kids facilitator. So
I can talk about sleeping. Yeah, I've got a couple of grandkids that don't sleep. I can talk about a couple of tools that Gary Douglas talks about. There's so much on the sleep stuff. Please reach out to me. I'm happy to talk more about that.
Yeah. And, you know, I love the question piece. And guys, if you don't know much about this question piece, it's like, it's not about asking a question for your mind to answer. It's about asking a question and throwing a question out there and allowing something different to show up with that. So, you know, it's like, just know, like 100,000 million godzillion %, that if you ask a question and you allow yourself to receive a different possibility, then something different can show up for you. And that's the thing with all of this. It's like, if you're having a difficult time with parenting, it's like just the question of like, okay, so what else can show up in my life that will create more ease for me with this?
Well, yeah.
You know, and sometimes it is about having just one question that you can play with, you know, and just ask that, throw it out there, continue on and see what shows up. And the Esha as well. Hey, I have a son, 15 months. He doesn't leave me. He's with me all the time. He stays with others for a few minutes and then back to me. Can you help? What should I do?
Look, again, I'm not sure if you do active consciousness, but again, there's quite a few tools there. One of the things I would say is don't separate from him. Don't take your energy out. So don't separate from your child energetically. And again, as Tiffani said, you don't have to go into your head about that. Just be aware that you're not taking your energy out from your child, or flow energy to your child. And then I would also be asking, what is my child aware of about me does not allow him to separate from me? And just see what comes up with that.
So what is my child aware of about me that doesn't allow him to separate from me? Is that what you asked? That's a great question. That's a great question.
Kids who don't want to separate from their parents are usually aware of something about their parents. It's usually an awareness about you. So tap into what's going on for you, and what energy, space, and consciousness can you be? So if you're being a space of ease, then that's what your child will pick up on, and they will be more likely to be okay with separating from you. They don't want to separate from you. What energy are you being that you could change that will allow them to have more ease with not being with you?
And the other thing, Pam, and I could talk with you about this for hours, but we do need to wrap it up. But you know, just you talking about that, it's like kids have a lot of awareness. You know, kids are aware of a lot of things, like way more than most people have the tools to empower them to deal with. So that's another thing that Access offers, that Conscious Parents, Conscious Kids offers, is tools that will allow your kid who has amazing amounts of awareness to deal with the awarenesses that they have that nobody else is talking about. So, you know, there's a lot, and, you know, essentially we would like everyone to be enjoying their lives, and their kids to be enjoying their lives, and people to be enjoying being parents and having more ease with parenting. So just know we have lots of things to play with. You'll see along the bottom as well, you can also go to accessconsciousness.com/get clear, where you can book a special offer, private session with some of our amazing Access Consciousness certified facilitators. So know that's available too, and feel free to reach out and get in touch. But thank you guys all for being here. Thank you, Pam. It's been awesome chatting with you.
Can I leave everyone with a question?
Please.
So just ask this question every day. If this wasn't a problem, what possibility would be available to me?
That's a wonderful question to finish up with. Yes, for anyone doing anything. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And we'll have another one of these, not tomorrow night, but the night after. So come back to the Access Consciousness Australasia page for more conversations in consciousness. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Ciao. Bye.